Like New York City rats surrounding a fast food dumpster, I'm diving into GarbAugust. Welcome to my channel. Another Boobiephile reads Playboy for the articles, because during the month of August, every channel needs a naughty name. And this week is actually 10 days long, so there's going to be a bonus video for this week. And this week is Anything Goes. And that means anything trashy is up for grabs. And what have I been reading? The group read for GarbAugust 3D is Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Susann, the sensualist novel of 1966. There is a Discord group over at Screamin' Olly's channel where we'll be discussing this book. Now, technically, I finished this just before August began because I'm also a BookTube prize judge and I needed to squeeze this book in. I actually listened to the audiobook version, which was decent, although I have this rather old paperback. And this is the story of three women, Anne, Jennifer, and Neely. And they are women making their way through the arts entertainment industry. Anne is a little bit on the sidelines. She runs the back end, while Neely and Jennifer North are stars. And it deals with 20 years and how they deal with this life. And some of them rise, some of them fall. They all get addicted to dolls. And that is the medication that helps them sleep, initially, at first, but has disastrous consequences. Now, the sex in this book is not as graphic as you might expect from a modern book, but it's really rather coy in places where Jacqueline Susann wants to refer to a sexual act, but is a little bit afraid to mention it by name. And some of these characters I grew to detest, one especially. I will not mention this right here because you should read it and form your own opinions about what you think about these characters. This is actually a rather entertaining book. It is rather slower paced than modern novels, as you should expect from something written in 1966. But I was thoroughly entertained, and I'm definitely glad I read it. I don't think short stories and novellas get enough love on BookTube. So for GarbAugust, I'm going to try to commit myself to reading a short story or novella every day. We'll see if I can keep up that pace. And the first short story I got was from Kindle Unlimited. It is Seduced in the Alien Death Game by Beatrix, published in 1923. It is the story of a mean, vicious, and cruel alien, and he is participating in a deathmatch game where the goal is to kill as many opponents as possible to win the game. He came in second place the year before, but he's determined to come in first this year, until he comes across a beautiful human lady, and they start having sex. Now, the sex in this story really isn't very erotic or sexy. It is a blow-by-blow description of what two genitalia can do to each other. So I was not hugely impressed. However, Beatrix has a lot of short stories and novels on Kindle Unlimited, and they all look super trashy, along the lines of what you might find for GarbAugust. So I will probably pick up another short story or two and see if it gets any better with this author. Crooked Tree by Robert C. Wilson, originally published in 1980. This is a horror novel, and this is just a beautiful step back cover. You see that tree, and you see the face of a bear. But you open it, and that bear's got a naked woman's body, and her fist is in a man's chest. Now, this story is a little bit slower paced again than most modern fiction. I like my fiction slower paced. It is a story of a lawyer in Michigan who is trying to defend some undeveloped land up in Michigan from developers. It is Native American land. And the unfortunate thing starts happening. Black bears start attacking people. Except black bears really don't attack people under normal circumstances. You get one maybe every 30 years or so. But all of a sudden, 3 people have been killed by black bears. But even stranger, that the bodies of these bear victims have had their tongues removed, not by a bear, but by a sharp instrument, probably wielded by a human. So this novel mixes Native American lore and horror. I really liked it. I first read it in the 80s, so I kind of knew what was happening in this story, but I purchased this book in paperback because, again, great step back cover. If you can find this step back cover, just buy it, just for the cover alone. You can also get this book in paperback and Kindle. It may even be available as an audiobook. Check it out. I have this book/magazine called High Adventure. It is the reprinting of pulp stories and novellas. And I read the novella The Green Lama by Richard Foster, originally published in 1940. And it has this really weird beginning where editor has been delivered a manuscript, supposedly of the Green Lama's adventure. The Green Lama is supposed to be an unknown superhero or super detective along the lines of the Shadow. No one's supposed to know his identity, but this editor outs that identity in the first page. And you get to hear about the Green Lama. He is a wealthy businessman who studied in Tibet to become a lama. And I guess being a lama gives you some supernatural powers. And the Green Lama is out to defeat the gangs of crime in New York City. This is not the best of pulp stories, but it is highly entertaining. Again, it's very derivative of The Shadow and other type of pulp stories like that. If you can find it, go ahead and read it. It was fun. You can guess the villain's identity before the end of the story, but I don't think that matters. Fun story. He's interrupting video making. He just wants attention because he's a cat. His name is Pip, and he thinks the world revolves around him. The world sort of does revolve around him. Now, can I make my video? Can I please make a video? What do you say, Pip? No, you don't want to look at the camera. Look at the camera, Pip. All right, let me make it my video. The next short story I finished was Blood for the Vampire Dead by Robert Leslie Bellum. A rural doctor in Arkansas is being surrounded by some of the local folks. They believe they're being attacked by a vampire witch who has killed one of their daughters. She's shown the body. Her blood has been completely drained from the body, and she has 4 puncture marks the neck. At first, the doctor is very skeptical that vampire witches exist, but stranger things start happening. And this story, well, rather, sort of cheesy, had a bit of a surprising ending to me. I thought it was going in one direction, and it turned around in a way that I kind of approve of. You can find it in a mega pack of pulp fiction on your Kindle Amazon store. The next book, I'm not actually done, but I'm going to be finishing it tonight, and I don't have time to make this recording on Sundays like I usually do. So I'm anticipating finishing this book tonight, and it is technically a reread, and it is one of the trashiest science fiction series you will ever find. I am reading Assassin of Gore by John Norman. It is book 5 in the Gorean saga. If you do not know this scandalous story, it is the story starts off very simply with Tarnsman of Gore, where a man from Earth is taken to the counter planet Earth, named Gore, where he has sword and planet adventures. The only problem with Gore is that the Gorean society loves their slave girls. The slave girl is like the best thing you can have in life if you are a powerful man. And as the series progresses, John Norman falls into the trap of adoring slave girls and comes up with a rather odious philosophy in later books where slave girls love to be slave girls. They want to be dominated by men. Well, in these earlier books, like Assassin of Gore, that philosophy is a little bit on the shelf, although I'm noticing it gets really rather heavier than I remember in this book. That I kind of remember that the slave girl stuff was on the side, but in this one, it's coming to light. It's like John Norman is experiencing this internal revelation about what he thinks about women and how they should be slaves. It gets in the way of the story. And the story, I'm rather enjoying. It is sort of set up like a mystery story where the main character, Tarl, is disguising himself as an assassin because someone killed a look-alike. And everyone believes that the real Tarl is dead. So now the fake assassin Tarl is out to discover who killed his doppelganger. And I would like the story to focus more on the mystery and the strange environments of Gore and its beasts and its strange customs. But more and more, it's just him talking about the slave girls. And I'm getting really rather bored with that. So, if you have not read anything by John Norman, pick up The Tarnsman of Gore, the first in the series. The slave girl stuff is more or less on the side in that first book. So somewhere from that first book, which I reread in 2023, he's getting a lot more heavy into this. So I'm not sure if I'll ever pick up another John Norman again, but I read these books when I was in high school, and they really thrilled the high school me. The me turning 60 this year, as I said, just sort of put off. This is my GarbAugust bingo card, and I really should start filling it out. In the top corner, I'm picking drugs because Valley of the Dolls deals very heavily with drugs. I'm also counting Valley of the Dolls as a moral panic. The Seduced by the Alien Death Game, I'm going to count as kinky sex. And we've got, again, Crooked Tree. That is a green step back cover. So I'm going to cross off the middle for Pax, and I am going to cross off the 3D movie or step back cover. Oh yes, for the Green Llama, I'm going to count Vigilante, because the Green Llama is a vigilante, and because he's going after criminal gangs, I'm going to cross off criminal gangs. I don't think Blood for Vampire Dead can count for anything, unfortunately. So still, it's just the beginning of the month, and I'm well on my way on my GarbAugust bingo card. So that ends the first half of the Anything Goes week. This week will continue because, as I said, this week is technically 10 days long, and got a lot of trash lined up to read for the rest of the week. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.